Good afternoon, everybody. I realise that I'm the last of probably quite a long day for you, but I'll try and make it interesting for you. As Simon says, we are an AI technology company. More specifically, we're a computer software company specialising in something called conversational artificial intelligence. And to give you some context, most people think about conversational artificial intelligence for things like the iPhone Siri experience or the Google Assistant, or in this case, you know, maybe asking Alexa to add some more washing powder to your shopping list, completing a voice-enabled purchase through a digital platform. And as you can see from the numbers like 500 million plus, this is a technology which is growing in acceptance in the consumer marketplaces. And that's important because although we are not a direct-to-consumer company, and very expressly we are a business-to-business company, our customers are large businesses themselves, wherever the consumer market leads, the business market will have to follow. So a good example of this is the automation in the customer service area, where Gartner, the leading analyst in the space, predict that 25% of all customer service operations will integrate virtual assistants or virtual technology, i.e. conversational artificial intelligence, to help automate customer service by 2025. So this is the field that we work in. Some fundamentals about our company. We have developed our own intellectual property, a software platform called Teneo. We're a Swedish company, even though I'm a Brit, and we're based here in Stockholm, and we listed the company very recently in March of this year. Our customers are large blue chip multinational businesses, and they tend to be the sorts of companies that have large customer bases themselves. So a customer like AT&T for us, they have 115 million mobile phone subscribers in the US. We help them with a number of their divisions. One of the things that we do for them is that we support their broadband, their cable to the home internet service. They have 11.5 million homes connected to AT&T services. And if there's a technical problem, the customer is offered a choice. Would you like to speak to somebody in a call center? Would you like to do a live chat session where somebody's texting you and you're texting them and they're also texting 3 other people? Or would you like the fully automated service? Interestingly enough, 62% of people choose the fully automated service, which might surprise you, and it encourages me. And they're right to, because in 8 out of 10 instances, the robot that we built for them fixes the customer's problem in that first call. So if you think about it from an AT&T perspective, that means that 62% of support calls, 80% resolution, that's around 50% of all their support calls are handled by one robot that never sleeps, never has a bad day, etc., etc. So that's one example. Here in VW, we help them on the front end of their business where they can book test drives and so on, and arrange for financing and so on associated with the purchase of vehicles. We started with the Skoda brand in Spain, but they have the concept of a bot factory where they will deploy various conversational artifacts at various points of the life cycle, from before you buy the car, while you own the car, making sure that you remain in the dealer network for servicing, ordering VW spare parts, replacement vehicles, and so on and so forth. We also do some more interesting use cases. This is Jack in the Box, which is a 2,500 restaurant, quick service restaurant burger company in the States, based out of California, San Diego, California. They process 300 million drive-through orders a year. I don't know what that says about America, because they're only the 19th biggest quick service restaurant in the US. So somebody must be doing even more than that. And the process that they're engaged with us is the automation of the voice ordering of burgers so that they can reduce staff 2.5 full-time employees per restaurant, which is a lot of money in their case. So there's all sorts of different use cases. They're all linguistic, and our customers are large B2C companies themselves. We operate on a global scale, 35 languages, even though there's only 104 of us. And part of the reason that we can do it with 104 people is that our go-to-market strategy is not just to talk to customers directly ourselves, but to work with some of the world's largest systems integration and business process outsourcing companies in order to provide the services component, the implementation component above our software in order to bring the projects to life and get them integrated with the back-end systems of the bank or the telco or the automobile company and so on. So it's all our own IP, and we have a number of foundational patents in the area which we had valued a few years ago by a company called Oxfirst at 96 million. The technology is clearly something that interests our target buyer, and our target buyer is the CIO of a large enterprise. And this is a survey that was conducted right at the very end of last year, where 160 CIOs from large enterprises were asked to evaluate which companies they were speculating in investing in. And it's across all ranges of technology. And interestingly, artificial solutions came third in the list and top in our class. So it was very, very encouraging for us to have that validated by a third-party organization, even though we knew nothing about the survey until it was published. So as I say, we've invented all and built all of our own technology. The technology itself is known as Teneo, from the Latin to understand. And inside Teneo is everything that the modern CIO needs to build and deliver solutions on behalf of his organization. Whether those solutions are on his website, or on a social media platform, or they're a speech-enabled mobile phone, or they're a connected set of IoT devices. It could be any channel of communication as long as it's a conversational application. Importantly, for Teneo, it operates at the very high end of what's commercially available in terms of understanding and intelligence. So we build some of the most sophisticated applications in the world, and yet we do this in a way that we've de-skilled it so that non-specialists, people who work at Accenture and Deloitte and Cognizant and so on, they can learn how to develop these applications on behalf of their customers. And we provide everything to develop them, to deploy them, and to analyze them. And that last point is a critical one, because the ownership of data is critical to the 21st century large enterprise. Understanding your customers through the data that they share with you is vital to survival. So, as I say, the Teneo platform has everything. We have the capabilities through a highly graphical interface, which enables people to collaborate, to build solutions, whether that is solutions for ordering burgers, or for fixing broadband setups, or for checking your bank balance or your value of your pension holding. We provide a full, secure runtime environment to deliver the solutions, and uniquely in our marketplace, we do that both from a cloud-based deployment and on-premise. And that last on-premise statement is important because some of our customers are banks and other organizations like US government departments, which care greatly about security and information protection, and having that behind their own firewall in their own data centers gives them the capability to do it. As I say, when the applications run, you learn a lot about the user. You learn their favorite burgers. You learn how often they transfer money to their children. And this is all done because you are able to collect the data that comes from the applications running in real time. And we, in the Teneo platform, provide you not only the machine learning capabilities so that the robot automatically gets smarter, but also the business tools to analyze that data to bring you business benefit, to know which products and services are working, which ones are not, to know how to personalize app offerings to customers implicitly, and how to utilize that to make your business better in terms of servicing your customers, to retain them for longer, to drive more value from them individually, and so on and so forth. So our platform, a lot of people associate conversational AI with more trivial consumer use cases, but we're selling to large business, which is, you know, why I'm not a 22-year-old in Silicon Valley, because I sell to other people who look like me, who are balding, aged, but actually have control of the purse strings in large businesses. And they do it because there's a concrete return on their investment. Why do they choose us? There are 5 primary reasons that they do it. One, that the conversational interface is becoming a must-have technology for the modern business. They have to provide outreach to their consumers, whether that's on social media or whether that's on mobile phone technology and so on. And increasingly, consumers expect there to be a voice or conversational interface. Just in the same way as my children walk up to a screen and touch it, and if it doesn't do something, they assume it's broken, right? I mean, I grew up with black and white television, right? So this trend is inexorable. Teneo was built from the ground up for the enterprise, which means that our target customer, the CIO, gets the things that he needs. He gets the security, he gets the version control, he gets a multi-user, he can roll it back if something goes wrong, he can integrate it with his back-end systems in a safe way. So it's not very sexy, but it's really important from the aspect of the CIO. We're able to build the world's most sophisticated solutions because we have a pattern for a hybrid technology which merges both a linguistic understanding of a language and a machine-learned model. And machine-learned models are great at seeing things for the first time and having a good guess at what they think they are, but they're not good at what's called precision, as in they might struggle to know the difference between I cancelled my order, can I have a refund, and you cancelled my order, can I have a refund, which would be 2 completely different business processes. So the hybrid approach allows us to use machine learning, which is really good at recall, seeing things at the first time, and then just to finesse it with a linguistic understanding so that very quickly and for low cost, you can get a very high level of understanding that you need to deliver solutions. And typically we're looking for a 95% plus level of understanding, which is critical to achieve the sort of goals that humans expect. Uniquely, we don't compete with our customers for data. So some players in the marketplace, like Google, who don't tend to operate so much in the enterprise space, but those sorts of players, Google and Amazon, basically, they give a lot of software away because you pay with your data. You give them all of the data that they can ultimately use to come in over the top and destroy your business like they've done with so many others. So many of our customers do not want that to happen, and they really want to have an integrated data component that they fully control, that does not leak outside their business. And trends like GDPR and so on are only supporting us there. And we're proven. We're not an overnight business. In fact, we've been in business since 2001 as a consultancy business for the first 10 years, but latterly as a software company. So we're not asking a large enterprise like AT&T to invest in a technology that doesn't work. They do it for a variety of reasons. They've invested in mobile phones and internet technology to enable them to reduce their cost of operation whilst being in contact with their customers. But this has led to a disconnect. They can't speak to their customers other than through call centers, and everybody knows that people hate call centers. So putting a automated conversational interface between you and your customer allows you to reconnect in the first-person singular language of the customer without having to reinvest in all the bricks and mortar that you used to have. And this means that they can look to drive revenue. Skoda know that the conversion rate from their website to people taking a test drive will improve the number of cars they sell. They can calculate it. AT&T know that if they have to answer that call from a customer in a call center with a broken broadband problem, then it will cost them $5, $6, $7 to resolve it. But they can pay me 25 cents every time the robot fixes it. so that they can reduce costs, optimize their resources, and increase revenue, which are all concrete business drivers. Not only that, but because they understand more about their customers through data, they can improve their relationship with them. They can personalize the experience of the usable, and they can derive actionable insight. They can detect where they've got problems in their business that they should put their human resources into to fix it. Okay? And the ultimate goal for the marketing team is to deliver mass personalization, and this is one of the components that you can do that with. Further, because it is a conversational application, the voice of the brand can be embodied in the conversation. So Jack in the Box literally have a character called Jack, and we can bring Jack to life in the drive-through experience, which is a unique proposition of them as a customer. What's in it from a financial point of view? Well, we basically have 3 different types of revenue. One is licenses, where we grant term licenses to our large customers, typically 3 years, 36 months term. We never do perpetual licenses. The second thing, which is the red boxes, is professional services. So they get the platform, they know what the goal is, and then using professional services people from ourselves or from Accenture or KPMG or Deloitte, they build an application that ultimately will be surfaced to their customers. And those professional services need to be paid for. And then on top of that, in the light blue, is usage fees. So every time the AT&T robot fixes a problem, we click a clicker. At the end of the month, we count the number of clicks and we send them an invoice. And they know that the bigger the invoice, the more they've saved. So everybody wins, okay? Now, what this means for us as a company is a typical customer life cycle, which will be multi-year, trends from having a high component of professional services in the first year, which actually drives the gross margin down because the people who deliver the professional services have to be paid for, to one which is much more driven by license and usage, which have much higher gross margin percentages for us. We're a much more profitable business. You'll notice that the professional services business does not go away. And the reason is that we know that the solutions are sticky. Once we implement something, then they expand it. So, for instance, Shell is a customer. We deployed originally in English for them. Now they run it in 6 languages. In AT&T, we not only do the broadband help, we also look after their home and personal security system, and now increasingly we're looking after their My AT&T mobile phone application. So we know that over time, long-term relationships grow with customers and they become increasingly profitable with customers, and they're very sticky. Because if you've got one robot handling what was 2,000 agents' calls, who's going to turn it off, right? I mean, it would be madness from a business point of view. Okay. So when we boil that down, we basically gave 3 commitments as a business when we listed through our company description. The first was that the order intake, this is the value of orders that we take from customers that are contracted. It's not revenue, it's order intake, it's the order book, would grow in excess of the natural language processing market, which the industry considers to be about 40%. Okay, so our forecast of the market, and we've just done our first results, so everything is in track with that, is that we expect our order intake number to go up by more than 40 points. Okay. Second guidance that we gave to the market was that the gross margin, which is currently in the mid-50s, 50%, will trend upwards, as you see that effect that I showed you on the bar chart, towards a position where the value of the gross margin of our business will trend up north of 70%. And as we're growing with more increasingly profitable business, we anticipate that we will turn cash flow positive from operations in 2020. So currently, you can imply that we're not, and that's true. But we predict that because of the growing increase in order book, the improvement in gross margins, it naturally falls through that over time we will move to a profitable business. And of course, once you've gone through the inflection point, unless there was a strategic decision to massively ramp up the business from a sales point of view, then it should turn into a highly cash generative, highly profitable business model. So you'll be pleased to know this is my final slide. So just a refresher then, we are, as Simon said, one of the very, very few genuinely AI-oriented companies actually out there making business for money. We operate in a large market. People anticipate it might be worth as much as 60 billion by dollars, by the way, by 2021. However, that's all of the AI sector, not just conversational AI. We have a unique and patented platform, Teneo, which allows people to interact with us in 35 languages. This year, you will see that we will add further languages to the platform that delivers at the very high end of conversational interface. And a number of people have not had the best experience in dealing with Alexa or Siri and think that they're not very intelligent. But trust me, we can build really smart robots. And even for trivial exercises, you really need that. The complexity of 4 people in a car ordering 4 different burgers and changing their mind and who has what with what is quite difficult to keep a track on as a human being, never mind as an artificially intelligent one. We've built a model that is highly scalable. We're only 104 people as today, and we don't see ourselves growing headcount in line with revenues. We see that revenues will grow away from headcount because we have an excellent route to market through our channel partners who know all of the world's large businesses and have an infinitely larger sales force than we do. The usage fees component for us means that this is the gift that keeps on giving. Every year, the solution can run away and generate revenue for us. And our customers are happy with that because they know that if it's generating revenues for us, it's making money for them in some way. As I say, we have a number of blue chip customers. We added some new blue chip customers in the earnings announcement that we did recently, and we anticipate that we will grow in 3 ways. Basically, we will grow because our existing customers will continue to do more business with us. That's very important. We anticipate that we'll grow because we'll add new companies to the portfolio. And we anticipate that we'll grow because we'll expand geographically. And we've just opened a 2-person office in Singapore to support demand from the Asia region. So that's a little summary of us. I think that's just about 20 minutes as well. So if you want to...
Thank you, Lawrence. Just a couple of questions on my end, if I may.
Yep.
So you are operating on a market that is exhibiting very rapid growth. Some market participants are saying it grows at 40%, others say 50%.
Yep.
And these sort of markets out to attract competition. What would you say is your key differentiator towards other competitors, and how's the competitive landscape?
So you're right, it does attract competitors. It's a good validation of your market that it does. There are different types of competitors. There are the technology giants who focus on more consumer-oriented applications. So that would be the Googles, Facebooks, and Amazons of this world. And then you have the traditional enterprise players, of which there are 2 principal competitors that we have. One is IBM Watson, and the second of which is a company called Nuance, who come from the speech recognition side of the world. They've been around a long time. They're also a New York NASDAQ company with multiple billions of market cap. So we are fighting amongst 800-pound gorillas, but we're winning. And we're winning because, candidly, we're the best at what we do. And the most fertile ground for us are customers who've tried one of the other technologies and failed. And I can give you classic examples of that the situation at VW was exactly that. And increasingly we see tenders come out and people, you know, have already got experience of building things using Google or other technologies, and they've run out of headroom because they're machine learned only models that do not have the precision that businesses need, and that they're not built for the enterprise because you have to give all your data to Google and you can't run it in your data center and it can't pass the CIO's security test. So it's not one silver bullet that somebody could copy. It's the fact that the thing has been built from the ground up with this particular market in mind, and the tools are specifically targeted at it.
Okay. And today you have a very reputable customer base.
We do.
If you had to choose, I know that you touched this area before, but if you had to choose, would you like to add more customers or focus on the customers that you actually do have today?
Well, honestly, both. I mean, I'll give you one for example. Okay, we've recently done our first US government agency. And we are only able to do that being a non-US company because it was actually done by Deloitte. But success breeds success. So within that government agency, there are several departments, and now we already have 3 of those departments signed up. So there's nothing to stop us adding new names and expanding inside accounts at the same time, especially when we can deploy a services team as big as Deloitte's. Yeah. So realistically, we want to do both. Yeah.
And speaking of deployment, how long does it take for you to deploy and develop a new solution for your customer, given that you usually upsell new applications for each customer?
Yeah, so, well, some of the applications are similar, but the way that Vodafone handles their customers is different to the way that AT&T is different to the way that Telenor does. So they're never quite exactly the same, but there can be similarities, and that can lead to doing things more quickly. However, we typically estimate that from the first start of the project to the production artifact being ready is about 6 months. And we could do it faster, but honestly, the truth is the customer's natural velocity will not allow us to. You know, if it, we've just signed up a Swiss bank, and the process of getting software installed in their data center takes between 6 or 8 weeks. It just does. Nobody can go round it. There's no bypassing. So we have that in the process, whether we like it or not. Now, we can do other things while that's going on, but there is a natural pace at which large enterprises move, and it's very hard to move them any quicker.
And just to give some sort of overview, how many applications do you have per customers on average? Is there any number that you can provide us?
So they're all multiple use cases, you know, both in terms of the language that they're deployed in and in terms of the applications that they do, because they invest in a platform. If they wanted just one thing, maybe they just have us build it, but they invest in the whole platform. So they already start off with the idea that they're going to do multiple channels, possibly multiple languages, not very popular in the US, but very important in the rest of the world, and multiple applications. So you know, Shell, we have multiple divisions of Shell that are using the technology now as well.
And lastly, what's the optimal customer of yours? Does it matter which sector they're operating in, or could you please describe an optimal case?
From our perspective, it doesn't matter what the sector is because the platform is completely agnostic to that. But what we want is the maximum number of iterations of contact between the customer and the enterprise. So if you take retail banking, there's a lot more frequency of transaction than an insurance company with an annual renewal cycle. So that means that if you're a bank, you're probably handling many, many more interactions with your customers than you are as an insurance company if you've got the same number of customers. And then the second factor is, what is the value of those interactions? If they're very high value, like selling motor cars, you don't need as many to justify the project, whereas if they're very low value, you obviously do. So we're trying to find people, and it doesn't matter which vertical they're in, that have high volumes of interaction with their customers, of high frequency, and of high value, because that's where the sweet spot is. And to be truthful with you, we don't have to go and find those, because the smart business people in those businesses realize that they're the ones who are going to get the best return on investment. So they look for it.
Thank you. I think that's all for it today. So thank you very much, Lawrence.
Thanks.